Our film starts with Yoshi sitting alone, crying. When her husband Suzuki senses that she's upset, he tries to comfort her and brings her a glass of juice so she can drink it. But because of the extreme tension she's in, she accidentally bumps the glass, spills it, and the juice pours all over the tablecloth on the dining table. Immediately she stands up, pulls the tablecloth off in a rush, and heads to the washing machine to throw it in. The moment she opens the washing machine door and puts the tablecloth inside, she suddenly feels like something is wrong, like something is tightening the space, suffocating it. She starts pulling out all the clothes inside. Then suddenly she screams at the top of her lungs because of what she sees. And to understand what was inside the washing machine exactly, and what pushed her into that level of horror, let's rewind a few hours back and start the day from the beginning. At that time, Yoshi looked completely different. She seemed genuinely happy, standing in front of her house with her neighbors, joking and laughing together while their children played around them. After they finish hanging out, we see Yoshi gathering all the kids so they can continue their game inside her house, with her daughter May, who is about 4 years old. And because Yoshi needs to go to the market to buy a few things, she makes sure to warn her daughter not to go outside the house. And of course, she removes all sharp tools from the kitchen so none of the kids get reckless and mistake them for toys. She also makes sure the water valve is shut. Then she leaves feeling reassured and takes her bicycle so she can go and come back quickly. Meanwhile, the kids are playing hide and seek. Each one hides somewhere. And Mina is considered the youngest among them, so she can't find a place to hide because they pretty much took all the hiding spots in the entire house. When Yoshi reaches the market, she overhears two people talking. They say there's a suspicious person in the neighborhood and that everyone needs to watch their kids closely these days because nobody can guarantee what might suddenly happen. Yoshi gets even more anxious, more than she already was, so she finishes quickly and rushes back home to check on her daughter. The moment she arrives, she keeps calling for May. But May doesn't respond. Yoshi starts searching everywhere, hoping May is hiding here or there. But when she starts losing hope, she goes to knock on her neighbor's door, thinking maybe May is sitting there, playing with the neighbor's daughter. But unfortunately, nobody has seen her since the morning when the kids were playing. When Yoshi completely loses hope of finding her, she has no choice but to call her husband at the hospital because he works as a nurse, so he can come help her. And of course, by the time Suzuki reaches home, Yoshi has already reported it to the police. They take her statement, reassure them that they will find May as soon as possible, and everyone leaves. And that's the moment when Suzuki offers her the juice to help her calm down, until, God willing, they get good news. Now as for what was inside the washing machine and what made her collapse like that, tragically, it was May, her daughter, dead, because the space suffocated her. Because while she was playing, she decided to hide inside it. A year later, we see Yoshi and her husband have moved into a new house, and it's very obvious she still hasn't gotten over what happened to her daughter, so much so that she refused to allow a washing machine into the house. She started washing all the clothes by hand. After she finishes washing, she goes to psychological rehabilitation sessions with her doctor. These sessions are basically a group of people, each person suffering from a different problem, gathering in one place with the doctor to express their feelings in front of each other. The idea is that this might break the barrier of trauma inside them and make them feel better. When it becomes Yoshi's turn to speak, her husband is standing behind her because he wants her to heal and go back to how she used to be. But the tension is very visible on her. She blames herself, saying that if she had bought a new washing machine, the kind that opens from the top, then none of this would have happened. And she starts expressing her anxiety through how she scratches her hands so violently that she injures herself. At that point, her husband is forced to step in to calm her down. The next day, her mother-in-law comes to visit. She notices the house is completely upside down and that Yoshi still hasn't organized anything since they moved. Not only that, but she's still holding on to all her daughter's clothes and toys, keeping them in a separate room by themselves. And in the middle of all this, Yoshi is mentally somewhere else, not focused on anything, so much so that when she pours tea, she spills half of it all over the table. Her mother-in-law gets very upset at the condition she's in. She hands her a paper flyer advertising a doll-burning ceremony for the deceased at the temple next to them. She suggests Yoshi should go. Maybe it would help her feel a little better and accept the reality they're living. Yoshi goes out to the balcony holding the flyer, thinking to herself about whether she should go. But suddenly a strong wind blows, and the flyer flies out of her hand. She rushes down to the street to get it before it disappears. Because the wind is strong, she keeps running after it until she finds herself standing in a market that sells antiques and historical items. And by coincidence, her eyes fall on an old doll being sold inside its box. From the first glance, she becomes attached to it, and she buys it immediately. At the end of the day, Suzuki returns from work. He hears his wife's voice in the kitchen. She's singing. When he walks in to tell her he's home, he finds her welcoming him with extreme happiness. He's shocked at the massive sudden change in her mood, but the moment he turns toward the table, he gets terrified because he sees her sitting the doll on the chair that used to belong to their daughter. And not only that, she even prepared a special plate for the doll so it can eat with them. She tells him she found it being sold in the market, and she thought, why not buy it? It will live with them. Suzuki realizes just how far her mental state has gone, so he doesn't want to argue with her at all, so she doesn't relapse, especially since she's only been laughing again for a few hours. And from that moment, Yoshi replaces the daughter she lost with the doll. She starts setting up a room for it with toys. She dresses it in her daughter's clothes. She cuts its hair and nails and cleans it carefully so it becomes an exact copy of May. When Suzuki comes back and sees this, he's shocked, because she's dealing with the doll like it's a real human being. She's preparing clothes for it like it's alive. He feels like this can't be ignored anymore. So he takes Yoshi and the doll and goes to her psychiatrist, but the doctor reassures him that she's fine, and that what she's doing is part of recovery, a type of therapy called doll therapy. She says there are many studies confirming that it can actually improve the condition of people coping with loss, whether it's a pet or even a child. And all Suzuki needs to do is spend more time with her and stay by her side. Even though he doesn't fully understand what's happening, he tries to go along with it, because the only thing that matters to him is that his wife becomes okay and returns to normal again. So he takes them to the mall to buy some clothes for their new daughter. The store employee stands frozen for a few seconds. Her brain basically errors out. Suzuki understands the situation and tells Yoshi, let's go somewhere else. Over time, they gradually return to a normal life. They travel with the doll to take her out. Suzuki is happy that his wife is laughing again like before, maybe even more than before. Their house becomes filled with photos everywhere of Yoshi with the doll, and it's like they truly considered her part of the family. That's what gives Yoshi the courage to finally buy a washing machine again. One day, she's hanging laundry and suddenly feels sick. She goes to the doctor. After that, she stops by her husband at work. Suzuki gets worried because he's not used to unexpected visits like that. He asks her, do you have tests today or something? She tells him she went to the gynecologist because she discovered she's pregnant. Suzuki feels like he's flying from happiness because he believes this is the one thing that will truly make her better. And after 9 months, we see Yoshi holding her baby girl Mina, and it's clear on her face that this is real happiness. She jokes with her husband while he's preparing a new bed for their baby. When Suzuki notices she's tired from standing, he takes the doll off the chair and throws it on the floor so Yoshi can sit and rest. He keeps filming her with his camera. Within less than 2 months, we see that they remove all the doll's photos from the walls and replace them with photos of them with their new baby. As for the doll, it gets thrown into the room among the toys, completely forgotten. The doll comes back. One day, Mina starts crying a lot. No matter how much Yoshi tries to calm her down, Mina keeps crying. So Yoshi goes back to search for the doll again and puts it next to her daughter on the bed, hoping it might distract her and stop the crying. When Yoshi finally feels reassured that Mina has fallen asleep, she leaves the room and goes to sit with her mother-in-law for a while. And of course she learned from her past mistake, so she installed a surveillance camera in the room, so even when she's busy elsewhere, she can still see what's happening. Her mother-in-law is very happy that Yoshi has finally returned to being a normal person again. She tells her how worried she was during the period when Yoshi was treating the doll like it was her daughter. Suddenly, while they're sitting, they hear Mina crying loudly because the doll is lying on top of her. Yoshi runs quickly and pulls the doll away to calm Mina down. At that moment, her mother-in-law notices there's hair wrapped around Mina's neck, and it's the same type of hair as the doll. But she doesn't think too much about it. Yoshi throws the doll back onto the floor in the toy room. At the end of the day, she waits for Suzuki to come back and tells him to put the doll back in its box and hide it somewhere, because its hair could have harmed their daughter. Suzuki does exactly what she asks. He hides it in the storage closet. 5 years pass. We see Mina, now older, coming back from kindergarten with her mother Yoshi. They're singing together. Mina asks her mother to carry her because she's tired of walking. When they arrive home, Yoshi goes into the kitchen to prepare food. Mina starts searching for her ball because it rolled away and went inside the storage closet. When Mina goes in to get it, she finds the doll right in front of her. She takes it out of the box and goes to ask her mother, "Can I play with Jan?" Yoshi is confused. She doesn't understand who Jan is. But when she sees the doll, memories replay in her mind. She lets Mina play with the doll. But the terrifying part is that Yoshi notices the doll's hair is extremely long, much longer than it should be, because she had cut it before. Still, She doesn't focus on it too much. She tells her daughter the doll is very old and she must be careful with it. That night, Yoshi tells Suzuki about the doll. He reassures her that it's normal. Some dolls have real hair. Yoshi says, okay, fine, hair makes sense. But what about the nails? How are they growing like that? Afterward, while cleaning the house, she finds a lot of hair scattered on the floor, and she hears her daughter talking to the doll. When she walks in and asks, what are you talking about? Mina tells her, it's secrets, I can't tell you. Yoshi laughs it off as childish play, but later at night, Yoshi finds Mina coming into her room to sleep next to her. Mina tells her she can't sleep in her own room because Jan keeps bothering her out of jealousy. Jan says, why are you their only daughter? That's not fair. Of course, all Yoshi thinks is that her daughter is making up imaginary scenarios because she doesn't want to sleep alone. So Yoshi carries her back to her bed, takes the doll, and places it on top of the closet so Mina feels safe. The next day, Mina returns from kindergarten with her friend Rena and Rena's mother. Yoshi asks Mina to take her friend inside to play with the doll while she prepares food. Mina starts telling Rena, Jan talks like us and we stay up together every day. Rena doesn't believe any of it. She starts pulling the doll from Mina's hands, trying to make it talk. At that moment, Yoshi is making tea. Suddenly they hear Rena crying. She runs out quickly. Both her hands have deep bite marks, as if someone bit her hard enough to injure her. When Yoshi asks Mina what happened and why she did that to her friend, Mina starts yelling and says it wasn't her. Jan is the reason. When Mina realizes her mother doesn't believe her, she starts crying too. Later, Yoshi sits collecting photos of her first daughter so she can put them into an album. Mina comes holding the doll, saying they both want to apologize for what happened. Yoshi lets it go and tells Mina that when she goes back to kindergarten, she should apologize to Rena too. Mina then wants her mum to play with her, but when Yoshi refuses because she's organizing her late sister's photos, Mina gets angry and says, I don't even have sisters, and storms off. Yoshi is shocked at Mina's behavior because Mina never used to raise her voice or speak like that. The next day, Yoshi enters Mina's room and finds Mina has taken all the photos out of the album and scribbled over her dead sister's face. Yoshi gets furious and calls Mina asking what made her do that. Mina avoids the topic and insists she didn't do anything. Jan did it. Then Mina bites Yoshi hard on the hand so she can leave the room. Yoshi grabs her arm to stop her and continue the conversation. Then she freezes in shock because she sees Mina's arm covered in scratches. Mina gets angrier and yells, I hate you! She grabs Jan and runs out of the room. After that, Yoshi gets summoned by the kindergarten teacher because Mina has been drawing disturbing pictures. 2 people hanging by ropes around their necks. The teacher tells Yoshi that when she asked Mina why she draws these things, Mina said, Jan asked me to do it. The teacher asks, who is Jan? But Yoshi keeps trying to convince herself it's just children's imagination. Until she confirms something is seriously wrong. One night she's asleep and feels someone crawl into bed beside her. She assumes it's Mina. But the horror is that she opens her eyes and finds it's Jan. She jumps up terrified and tells Suzuki, this doll is not normal. But Suzuki thinks she's exaggerating and says their daughter must have moved the doll. The next morning, Yoshi waits for Mina to get on the kindergarten bus. Then she puts Jan in a bag and throws it into a trash container on the street. When she returns upstairs, she finds the doll sitting behind the apartment door, covering its face with a bag. Yoshi enters absolute terror. She grabs a wooden plank and starts beating it, releasing all the panic inside her. After she calms down and looks toward her daughter's room, she sees the doll sitting on the chair perfectly fine. Then she realizes the disaster. The one hiding under the bag isn't the doll. It's her daughter. She wakes up in shock. Thankfully, it was just a dream. But when she opens the apartment door to confirm nothing is there, she finds the doll right in front of her for real. This time, because the trash sorter worker returned it to her, telling her to throw it in the correct place. So she takes it down and throws it into the garbage truck, and returns home to continue her day normally. Later, she stands on the balcony hanging clothes and hears noise and an ambulance coming from the street. She goes down to check. She is shocked to discover that Mina jumped into the trash container to retrieve the doll. When they try to pull Mina out by force, Mina looks at her mother with sadness, then walks away from her. That night, Yoshi checks the surveillance camera footage from Mina's room. And she sees it. Jan is actually interacting with Mina, talking back, answering her questions. The extreme tension Yoshi is living in pulls her back into her old state. She starts scratching her hands until she injures herself again. She feels she needs to return to her psychiatric medications. After taking the medication, she sits staring into nothingness due to the drug's effect. Mina comes asking her to play. Mina runs to hide, and Yoshi forces herself to get up because her daughter doesn't deserve to suffer for what her mother is going through. Yoshi goes into the room searching for her. Mina laughs, closes the door from the outside and locks Yoshi inside. Yoshi says, "Stop playing, open the door." Before she finishes speaking, she sees Mina moving behind her, covering herself with a towel. Fear grips Yoshi because she doesn't understand what's happening. If Mina is here, then who locked the door? Mina takes it further. She opens the door and runs toward the room where the washing machine is. Yoshi feels like the nightmare is repeating. She runs to the washing machine and looks inside. Suddenly, Mina jumps on her and hugs her. Out of pure terror, Yoshi throws Mina violently to the floor because she thought it was the doll. They rush Mina to the hospital. The doctor reassures them the injury is external and not dangerous. Then he asks to speak to Suzuki alone. He asks Suzuki if his wife has shown strange behavior recently, because Mina's back is covered with scratches exactly like the ones on Yoshi's hands. When they ask Mina who did this to her, Mina says, "If I tell you who did it, you'll hurt even more." Suzuki assumes the psychological pressure has made Yoshi do it unconsciously. He arranges a hospital bed for Yoshi to stay for a while until she improves. Yoshi loses control and tells him the entire problem is the doll, and Mina cannot be left alone with it. Suzuki tells her that Mina's body is covered in scratches, and there's a possibility that Yoshi is the one doing it. He says, "Anyway, take your time with treatment. I will get rid of the doll permanently, and I'll leave Mina at my mother's house for a while until things calm down." Yoshi remembers there's a temple that performs doll-burning rituals for dolls with problems, and she suggests he contact them. That day, Suzuki photographs the doll's box and sends it to the temple so they can schedule the ritual. They call him immediately and tell him the doll is extremely dangerous and must be disposed of as soon as possible, so they will do the ritual tomorrow. Suzuki is surprised. What could be so urgent about it? He searches online and discovers there's an entire story connected to this doll. Long ago, there was a man named Kokichi who made dolls. His daughter loved dolls and had one she never left behind. Then an accident happened, and the daughter disappeared. Only the doll remained. The mother kept it and asked them to bury it with her in the same grave on an island. After the mother died and they buried her, they learned the doll somehow escaped the grave searching for its owner. Suzuki doesn't believe it. To him, it's just a fabricated legend to attract attention. At his mother's house, the grandmother puts Mina to sleep, then goes to get something to drink while watching TV. When she turns around, she sees Mina standing in front of the TV with her back turned. She asks, "Are you hungry?" and opens the fridge. Mina suddenly jumps onto her back playfully. The grandmother carries Mina toward the bedroom, about to put her on the bed, then realizes Mina is deeply asleep on the bed, meaning the one on her back is the doll. The grandmother panics, throws it on the ground, and calls her son to come get rid of this cursed thing. Suzuki tells her the temple ritual is tomorrow. Then Suzuki checks the surveillance footage and hears Mina tell the doll, "So you live in Narima, Tokyo." Suzuki personally becomes terrified, because that's the same place mentioned in the legend. He searches again and finds the worst shock. The doll's name is Yan. He rushes to his car to go check on them and calls his mother, telling her to keep the doll away from Mina until he arrives. But his mother had already thrown the doll into the storage room. When she goes to confirm it's still there, it's gone. She runs to the bedroom to check on Mina, but both Mina and the doll are missing. They escaped through the window. She searches everywhere desperately, terrified the doll might do something to the child. When she reaches a bridge, she finds Mina sitting on the edge. The grandmother can't even speak properly. She begs her gently not to jump. Suzuki arrives at home and finds the door open and nobody there, so he rushes out to search. He finds Mina running toward him with her mouth covered in red. He pulls out a tissue to wipe her mouth, takes the doll from her, and puts it back in its box. Suddenly, a police car arrives because the grandmother has injuries on both hands. She tells them, crying hysterically, that when she went onto the bridge to save Mina, the doll jumped on her and dug its nails into her hands. The officer doesn't believe her. He takes Suzuki to the car to show him the surveillance footage, and Suzuki sees exactly what she described. Suzuki hides the tissue he used to wipe Mina's mouth because he suspects the opposite happened, that Mina might have bitten the grandmother. The next day, someone from the temple arrives to collect the doll and take it there. He tells Suzuki the ritual begins at 10 o'clock. Suzuki decides to go watch and record it to show his wife because he believes it's the only thing that will comfort her. He doesn't tell Yoshi anything about what happened since she was admitted to the hospital. Meanwhile, we see a man in an antique shop with Yan's box, because the doll escaped from the temple's vehicle, and this man found it and thought he could sell it for good money. The shop owner tries to bargain, but the man refuses to sell it cheap and leaves to find another place. When he exits the subway station, he suddenly starts coughing violently, as if something is stuck in his throat. When he tries to pull it out, he finds a huge amount of hair, exactly like the doll's hair. Then suddenly we see him fall down the station stairs with severe injuries, and Jan's box breaks. They rush him to the hospital in critical condition. The temple priest goes to Suzuki, returns the doll, and tells him the doll's power has grown far beyond their control, and they can't help him get rid of it. He gives him the number of a specialist who cleanses dolls from evil spirits. Suzuki calls the specialist, and the specialist orders him to restore the doll's box and not let anyone touch it until he arrives. But Suzuki can't do that because the box is already broken. Then he turns and finds one of the nurses holding the doll and playing with it. He yells at her to drop it immediately. Suddenly they hear something inside the doll's mouth. When they check, they find a small child's tooth. Suzuki thinks fast and takes the doll to radiology to see what's inside its body. The shock is that they find bones inside it, skull-like structure and human-like bone features. By coincidence, Yoshi is being discharged that day and comes to check on her husband. She's shocked too and asks, "Who brought this doll back here again?" The police officer arrives to confiscate the doll and take it to the station, claiming it's responsible for the incident. Suzuki tries to warn him. A cleansing expert is coming, but the officer mocks them and says, Yeah, I'll handle it. They escort him to the car. By coincidence, the expert arrives at the same time and tries again to warn him. The officer refuses and insists. So the expert offers, "We'll drive behind you. If anything happens, we'll catch up." The officer still treats it like a joke. As soon as he enters a tunnel, he looks and finds the doll vanished from beside him. He stops and gets out to search. He finds it wedged into the car's tire. He rushes back in to drive away, but they hear the doll crying, saying it's in pain. When Suzuki sees the car stopped on the side, he pulls over too and runs out with the expert to check. They find the officer sitting on the ground holding the doll, crying beside it. The expert places a hand on his shoulder and recites chants to snap him out of the state he's in. He takes the doll and locks it in a wooden box until they decide what to do. The expert asks Suzuki to take him to a specific place, because there is another expert there. An old man who has studied the doll for years, and he is the only one who knows the real story. When they arrive, they find an elderly man in a wheelchair. When he sees the doll, he confirms it's the real one, and he tells them the story from the beginning. There was a military officer who once met a man named Kokichi, surrendering himself. Kokichi confessed he had a daughter named Yan, extremely weak since birth, and the mother began to hate her because she kept getting sick. One day, the mother decided to end both her life and her daughter's life by hanging. But because the mother's weight was too heavy, the rope snapped. The mother survived, but the daughter died. When Kokichi learned what his wife did, he committed something horrific. He took the child's bones and made a doll from them, attached her hair and nails to hide the crime from the police, and at the same time convince himself his daughter was still with them. When the mother later died, her wish was for the doll to be buried with her, and that's what happened. Yoshi goes into shock. So the doll is literally Jan? She asks how it escaped the grave. The old man says someone must have opened the grave thinking it was an antique valuable item to sell. They spent years searching but never found it. Now the expert wants to perform a ritual to destroy it permanently. But Yoshi insists on another option. The doll must be returned to her mother's grave and buried with her again. So the three of them travel to the island where the grave is. They gather in a hotel room to perform a ritual to control the doll until they reach the grave and bury it. But in the middle of the ritual, the power goes out, because Jan's power is increasing and she breaks out of the wooden box. Yoshi uses her camera flash to locate her. She manages to control her and wrap her in cloth. When the power returns, they realize Jan injured the expert's legs, leaving him unable to continue. So the only option left is for Yoshi and Suzuki to bury the doll themselves. They climb the mountain searching for the grave until they finally find it. Yoshi places Jan beside her mother, but before they close the grave, a photo of her first daughter falls into it. Yoshi reaches in to grab it, then Jan betrays her and grabs her, pulling her down violently. Suzuki rushes, pulls Yoshi out and closes the grave door. But Jan is gripping Yoshi's hair with all her strength, trying to drag her back in. Yoshi breaks her daughter's photo, takes the glass shard and cuts off her own hair to free herself. Finally, they return home feeling relief, believing they've finally gotten rid of the doll. Yoshi sees Mina running to hug her. She picks her up and sits on the chair. But the terrifying part is that Mina grips her tightly, and every time Yoshi tries to push her away, she can't. Yoshi tries to look into the mirror reflection to understand what's happening. And she's shocked. She sees the doll's eye. She tries to call for Suzuki to save her. But Suzuki is in another world. He's standing in front of the washing machine, seeing his first daughter trapped inside, banging on the door for him to open it. And it turns out all of that was an illusion. They're still at the grave, and they still can't close it. Suzuki flips the washing machine to the ground, trying to break the door and free his daughter. When the girl comes out, she hugs him. Then she goes to take Yan from Yoshi's hands and walks away with Yan. Only then are they finally able to close the grave. They imagine they are holding their daughter's hand, walking along the sea, happy that she helped them get rid of the doll. After that, their life seems to return to normal with Mina. They sit together eating breakfast, then take Mina's bicycle and go for a ride. But then, the grandmother arrives with the expert, entering her son's apartment to check on him, because it has been a week and she hasn't been able to reach him, and he left his daughter with her all this time without asking about her even once. When they enter, they see 3 plates of food on the table. The expert realizes the disaster. Yan hates her real mother. Her entire goal is to live in Mina's place, make Yoshi her mother instead. And that's why returning her to her mother's grave was never going to work. As for Yoshi and Suzuki, we see them coming out of the elevator with Yan riding a bicycle. Mina sees them from inside her grandmother's car, trying to scream and call them with all her voice. But none of them hear her, because the doll's spirit has taken control over them.
And now I have to ask you, do you think Yan was evil from the start? Or was she just a lost soul begging for a family? If you were Yoshi, would you have kept the doll or destroyed it the moment things got strange? Drop your opinion in the comments. I'm reading everything. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. See you in the next one.